Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Be a Better You podcast. My name is Allison K. Dagny. I am your subconscious healing coach, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 3 hidden beliefs that keep you feeling stuck. And before we get into this, I want to just explain to you what stuck even is, right? Because I hear this all the time. There are people who say, I feel stuck, or I'm so stuck, right? Well, stuck is a temporary state of being. It's not something that you are destined to be, and it's not an emotion, right? It's not a feeling. There may be feelings associated with this temporary state of being, like frustration or sadness, depression, things like that, but it's not the feeling itself. So when people say, I feel stuck, what they're telling you, or what you're saying, is that you are in a state of being where you can't move, or you can't move forward, or nothing feels like it is changing, like there's no momentum. And the reason I wanted to bring this up, because I feel like it's really important to recognize that you can change your state of being, right? You know that when you look back at the past, there have been times that you have been in a state of being that you aren't in today. So that's why I use the term temporary, because I want you to really absorb this as something that can be changed. You're not destined to be stuck forever, even though you might feel that way. So if you are someone who's ever felt like that, no matter what you do, no matter what you try, that you're still stuck and you can't move forward. No matter how many distractions, no matter the people that you talk to, no matter the courses that you take or the books that you read, you can't let go, or you're still stuck in the past. So if you've ever felt like that, right, then you might feel like that your healing isn't working the way that it should. But here's the thing I want to tell you. The truth is that this is not your fault. It is not your fault. And I would like for you to repeat that to yourself. This is not my fault. This is just you running on old beliefs that no longer serve you. Because our actions, like the actions that we take in this world, are based on our emotions, which then are based on or will come from our beliefs. So I've said this before, and if you're a first-time listener here, your beliefs from your subconscious mind, the things that you've been programmed with since the day you were born, dictate your emotions. Those emotions are going to drive your behavior. So if you are in a state, in a temporary state of stuck, that is because of what's happening in your subconscious mind. Okay? Now, I'm going to get into these specific beliefs, these hidden beliefs that will keep you feeling stuck, which really isn't a feeling, but you get my point. Here's the thing I want you to think about as you listen through this episode, is that words have so much power. And if you are using words like I can't, or they should, or I won't, or it'll never, right? Those words can actually become your reality. So the more that you cling to words that disempower you or that limit you, that is going to be what will end up dictating your level of stuckness, okay? Because people who believe that they can, and people who believe that they are able to do this or that or the other, are the people that you will more often see succeeding. So if your language is limiting, and that's going to be limiting because of what you believe, right? And because of your programming, that's okay. I don't want you to blame yourself. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. This is because of how you were raised. This is because of how your parents treated you. This is because of the experiences and the traumas that you've gone through. This is also because of your culture. This is also because of your society that you live in, okay? So nobody is at fault here, right? This is just the way that you've been programmed. And those programs often will result in the similar type of language that we continue to repeat to ourselves. And that language can often be very, very limiting, which will hold us in this temporary state of feeling stuck. Now, I want to share a story with you about one of my clients who, when she first came to me, every single conversation that she had was draining her. And she had told me that certain places that she would go to would trigger her, that moments of silence for her were just excruciatingly painful, not peaceful. And often they were filled with these thoughts that she couldn't escape. She felt like she needed to get away, but she didn't know where she needed to go. And she told me she felt like that she was just existing and not really living. And one of the things that was really hard for her was that she was replaying old memories. She was questioning all her decisions and every single moment from her past, and literally just wondering over and over and over again if things would have or could have been different. So she was, in her mind, stuck, right? Stuck in the past. And she was trapped in the emotions that were attached to that. But we kept working together. And week after week after week, things started to shift. And she started to notice these little small changes and would message me and tell me about it. And she would start feeling a little bit lighter, and not because like her life had magically changed all of a sudden, but because she was changing and she was learning to rewrite this story that her mind kept telling her. And I remember this very clearly when she sent me a message, and we had been working together for a really long time, and I had tears in my eyes because she said that she was sitting on her couch with her coffee, and for the first time and as long as she could remember, she was just at peace. Like, it was so overwhelmingly obvious to her that she was at peace because there was an absence of the thoughts, there was no more heaviness, and it was just her feeling okay. And that is the beauty of this work, right? It's not about erasing the past, but if you're feeling stuck, it's about teaching your mind that you are safe and in the present moment. And when that shift happens, that's when everything changes. So let's get into the 3 most common beliefs that keep survivors in this temporary state of stuckness. And I will give you some tips on how to rewire this so you can finally move forward. So chances are of these 3, you will probably relate to at least one. So number 1 is this belief that I need closure before I can move on. Sometimes this is also like I need an apology, or I need them to acknowledge their pain that they've caused me, that sort of thing. So many survivors of abuse often believe that they need validation or an apology or an explanation to know why before they can fully heal. And the thing is, closure isn't something you can get from people all the time. Closure isn't always available to us. You know, if you're hinging your healing on someone else's action, then you are being trapped. You are essentially keeping yourself from being able to heal if you believe that, right? So remember I said to pay attention to your words. The I need validation, or I need an apology, or I can't heal until I get an explanation. That verbiage is rooted in your subconscious beliefs. So think about how you say those similar types of things if this closure idea is something that you feel like is keeping you stuck. Because closure, again, isn't something that you're going to get. It's something that you create, okay? And, you know, it is human nature to want to know why bad things happen to us. But the reality is, if we know why, it doesn't always make it better, right? Knowing the why isn't what helps us heal. Because somebody could explain to you why they did something bad, but that doesn't mean that that reason is going to help you heal or help you be unstuck, right? Often we are just looking for explanations because we are human and we are curious. But if you believe that you need it in order to move on and heal, then you are giving them the keys to your jail cell, okay? So instead of saying, I need them to acknowledge what they did, or I need an apology, maybe let's think of a different way that we can say that. Like, I get to decide what this experience means for me. That would be a great shift, right? I don't need them to acknowledge what they did because I acknowledge what they did. And that is the most important thing, right? That you know that what someone did was wrong or what someone did harmed you, that you are not dismissing it, that you are acknowledging it, okay? Now, if you are someone who is in this temporary state of stuckness, like I said, and you are repeating these thoughts in your mind or wishing and hoping, right? A wish and a hope is often a belief in disguise. I just wish they would. I just would hope that they would, right? These are subconscious beliefs in disguise that I need this in order to heal, right? But think about what's happening inside of you if you are continually believing that your freedom depends on someone else giving you an apology. That is something that can trap you for a lifetime if you never get it. Think about it like if there was a beautiful apple tree and at the very top were the very best apples, like the shiniest, juiciest, sweetest apples. If you believe that you can't get that apple until you have a ladder, then you're always going to be standing at the bottom just wishing and hoping you had that apple one day and wishing and hoping you had a ladder. And if you never have the ladder, you're never going to get that. But how else could you get that? Could you stack boxes? Could you throw ropes up into the branches and hoist yourself up? Could you ask other people to support you and climb on their backs so you could get up into the treetops? Right? Like, I'm using this as an analogy, but it really does give you some power when you realize that you can choose if you want to heal. The stuckness is coming from the belief that you need something else in order to have it, in order to have that freedom, in order to have that apple at the top, right? You don't need anybody else to give you closure in order for you to heal. So the other thing you might want to think about here is, why do I believe that? What do I get inside myself from believing that I need closure in order to heal? And you might be surprised. Some people will say, well, I don't get anything. I don't get anything from believing that. But you do. I mean, the reality is your brain is trying to protect you and keep you safe. So for some people, it could be something to the effect of, if they don't apologize and if they don't acknowledge and they don't recognize and give me closure, then that means what happened was okay. So what are you making it mean? Okay. So what if the peace that you're actually wanting and looking for is something that you could give yourself today without holding on to this idea that you need closure before you can move on? All right, now the second one, number 2, is if I was really healing, I wouldn't feel this way. This is a really interesting one because the reason this keeps you stuck is because you might be feeling that you might be believing that if you get triggered or if you're sad or emotional or angry, that you're failing at healing, okay? So if I was really healing, I wouldn't feel this way. And a lot of people believe that, and that is just not true. Healing isn't about never feeling pain. It's about changing your relationship to it, right? If you aren't feeling emotions, you're not human anymore. We all feel emotions, right? So if you get triggered, that doesn't mean that you're not healing. If you get sad or you get angry or something comes up for you emotionally, that doesn't mean you're stuck, okay? So I need to be very, very clear about that. Like, you are not stuck just because you're still experiencing emotional things or you're getting triggered, right? You are on a journey. You are moving through your life in the exact way that you're meant to. Can we make the journey a little bit easier? Sure. Can we use tools that help us? Absolutely, right? But I get upset still, and I've been doing this for years. And I have emotions. That doesn't mean I'm stuck, okay? So we need to shift this, right, from like, I shouldn't feel this way, to something more empowering, like, my emotions don't mean that I'm broken, or my emotions don't mean there's something wrong with me. They mean I'm human. They mean I'm learning. They mean I'm experiencing. They mean I have opportunities, right? So think of healing like recovering from a physical injury, right? The pain doesn't just disappear overnight. If you have a surgery or something, right, each time you move, you're getting stronger and your body is healing. But if you believed that when you recovered from a physical injury, that you're stuck and you're going to be in this pain forever, right? If you believe that, oh, I'm stuck. I just had a surgery, I'm stuck. Most people don't believe that. Most people, when they have a surgery or a physical injury, broken bone or whatever, they think, oh, I'm just healing. Okay? So try to think of it maybe in a different way. Now, one thing I'd like for you to consider is that what if healing wasn't about never feeling pain, but about no longer being controlled by it? Because healing does have pain, okay? I don't know if you've experienced this before, but I had a surgery years ago, and as I was healing, I was getting these like shock waves of pain for weeks, and they would start off by like every 30 seconds, I would feel these like zaps of pain. And I remember calling my doctor, and the doctor said, yep, this is normal. This is your nerves like refiring and you're healing. So it was painful. That healing process was painful, but it wasn't forever. And I knew there was going to be an end eventually. Okay. Do occasionally I still get those little twinges of pain? Yeah, but they don't happen hardly ever at all. Okay, so this is no different from when you're healing your emotional wounds. You're not just going to get to the point where you never feel any emotion. That would be, you wouldn't be here on this planet anymore if that were the case, okay? You're no longer controlled by your emotions when you're through it, right? So healing just isn't about like erasing all your pain. It's about managing it, and it's about not being controlled by it. All right, the third one, okay? This is the third belief. Because of what happened, I'll never be happy again. A lot of people truly hold this belief, and it will keep them feeling stuck in that temporary state of being. So why does this keep you stuck? Trauma can make you believe that you are destined to feel this way forever. It may also make you think that there's not a rainbow on the other side of the storm, because often people believe that they're still in that trauma, and for good reason, because your nervous system is remembering what happened. You're not living in that trauma anymore, but your nervous system believes that you are. It still feels that way. That's why when we get triggered or something does come up, or we're having physical ailments, or we're having autoimmune diseases or migraines or TMJ, all those different things that are affecting us physically, makes you believe that you are stuck. Because you think, well, my trauma was so bad and I'm still carrying it with me. I can still feel it in my body. My best days are behind me. I'm never going to be happy again. It's just not in the cards for me. I'm not going to be happy. But your trauma does not define your capacity for happiness or healing. It only shapes the wisdom that you gained from that into the future. So your trauma, though it feels like you're still in it, right? Because I understand that your body actually is, if you're nervous system is dysregulated in any way, you are going to feel that. However that might manifest for you personally. I know people who have gastro issues. I know people who have skin issues. I know people who have back problems. And they try all these different things. But they feel stuck because they have the trauma that's like associated with what happened to them still in the present moment. So we have to take action. Like, we have to actually do things to help ourselves heal our bodies and heal our minds. But believing that what happened is the reason you'll never be happy again is a big, big, big factor in why people feel stuck. Okay, so instead of holding on to this, like, my trauma was too big and too horrible, it's still in my body, my nervous system is carrying it, and I'm never going to be happy again because of that. You can see why, if you believed something like that, you would feel very, very stuck. But the purpose of this podcast is to help you shift. That's what I do in my coaching programs with all my clients. I help you see different perspectives. I help you see things from different angles so that you can pull yourself out. So, what if instead of that, we think of it differently? Instead of, I lost my chance at ever being happy, or I'll never be happy again, to something like, from here to the future, I get to build something better. From here to the future, I get to design my life. From here to the future, even though I have pain and I have suffering emotionally and physically, there are things that I can do to bring happiness into my life now. I can find happiness in my little dog, who I love dearly. I know that when I am on a walk outside, even though my back might not be feeling very good, that I do feel connected and peaceful to the earth, right? So it's, if we are just always dwelling on the, I'll never be happy again, and everything was too bad and everything was horrible, and that's the state of being that you feel in now, well, of course you're going to feel stuck, and of course you're not going to be able to move out of that. But when you change that and you think about, well, wait a second, I know that happened before, but what's happening today? And how can I look at my life through a different lens? Where can I focus my attention? Does it have to be on never being happy again? Or can I look for ways that I am happy in the present moment? And the more you focus on those things, the easier it is going to be to shift out of feeling stuck. So I have said this before, but your past is like an old book. Like, you can't change that part. You can't change what was written in that book. But you can write the new chapter. You can write the chapter for today. You can write the chapter for the future. You get to choose, because in the present moment is where your power is. You may feel very powerless because the past has already happened. But you don't have to carry that with you and believe that you'll never be happy because of something that happened to you. Now, this is going to be much more complicated and much more in-depth when you start figuring out what it is that makes you believe that you'll never be happy again based on what happened. But once you do that and you start really checking in with yourself and really asking yourself the hard questions, like, why do I believe that, right? And it could be that there's a level of resistance that you don't want to be unstuck, not consciously. I'm talking subconsciously here. You might not want to be unstuck. And you might be like, why would I ever not want to be unstuck? I'm listening to this podcast right now. That makes no sense. But I'm telling you, your brain wants to keep you safe. So if you get unstuck and you are that best version of yourself and you are happy and healed, maybe you're making that mean something about what happened to you, that it wasn't important, that it didn't matter, or something like that, right? And nobody wants to feel that. But again, even those stories can be rewritten. Even those things can be shifted, okay? All right. Now, one thing I would love for you to consider and think about as you go about your day is, what if your most joyful, fulfilling, and happy years are still ahead of you? Right? What if that is the best part of your whole life, is out into the future, starting today? What would you do now if you knew that that was true? So I'd love for you to think about that. What would you do now if you knew that that was true? Because truly it is, because you get to decide. All right, now, if you recognize any of these kinds of beliefs in yourself, please know that you are not alone. Again, I gave these to you because they are common. And I also want you to know you don't have to stay stuck. The book that I just released, Radiate and Rise, Discovering Peace and Power During and After Divorce, was written because I was stuck. I was really stuck. And I wanted other people to know that you can break free from these old patterns and step into the life that you deserve. Because I don't feel stuck anymore. And in fact, I know I'm not stuck. There are times that, things might trip me up, or I have to go back into my own mind and check my beliefs and try to shift things. Yeah, that's normal. But again, that's like part of the healing process. It's not like I'm going to be 100% healed, right? Immediately, or even within a certain period of time. Like, that's just not the way life is. So if you want to be inspired by my story and see how I started to make some of these shifts myself, it is my memoir. It is the second part of my first book, When Tears Leave Scars. So if you haven't read the first book, that's okay. This is a standalone book. You don't need to have ever read the first book to understand it. Now, I think you'll still get a lot out of the first book if you decide to read that one too. But Radiate and Rise, Discovering Peace and Power During and After Divorce, will give you that information and inspiration. So you can go to Amazon and search the term Radiate and Rise. It should pop up right at the top. You can get it in Kindle, or you can get it in a paperback. I also offer signed author copies on my website. So if you're interested, you can visit my website at allisonkdagney.com and you can get a signed author copy sent to you or someone who you love if you'd like to gift that to them for $25. So if this book has helped you, please leave a review after you read it. And that would make a huge impact for me in helping more women find their empowerment and their worth as they navigate these treacherous waters. All right. Thanks so much for being here. And I hope that if you need anything, that certainly you will reach out to me and I can support you in any way, or at least direct you to the resources that I have. Thanks so much. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you next week.